Submission Radio here in New York with the one and only Tim Kennedy, who is going to fight Rashad Evans a few days from now. What must have been a very tumultuous 24 hours for you. Let's just kick this off. Where were you when you found out the news?
It was about 20,000 feet in the air on a plane, and my private security guy and business partner got a text message saying that my fight was off, but that's all we got. It was just one. And then as soon as my plane touched down, turned my phone on, it was just hundreds of text messages and emails pouring in, both from the UFC and from journalists telling me, that my fight was off. So I kind of learned from text messages and the internet.
What was your reaction when, your security guy told you this? Did you think it was a joke? And when exactly did it sink in that you're not fighting on the card?
I was in kind of disbelief. I was like, no way. Like this, you're joking, right? You're totally trolling me. Just worked so hard to be here. The only reason I came back to the sport was because of how big this fight was, how big this card is. Everything around this card is magical, from all three title fights to where we're fighting at, with the city, the state, for the first time, fighting a former champion, with the current champion of the weight class being a guy that I've already beaten up, badly. So the timing seemed serendipitous, it seemed perfect. And so I didn't believe that the fight was off.
You guys have previously trained together, you and Rashad, but have you had a chance to speak to him at all, sort of clear the air about the fight not being happening? You're both sort of in a difficult position because there was that photo that came out with Rashad. He looked like he was in shape as well and really excited for the fight too. Yeah. So it's one of those situations where both guys are in a crappy position, and I suppose both guys can understand the position because they're the only ones in it.
I texted Rashad, not to clear the air. We're fine. It was just to make sure he was okay. Ultimately, it's an athletic commission. Now, New York, for the first time, saying that we're not giving you a license because there's something wrong with an MRI. We can't, because of privacy things within, medical records. It's none of our business of why, but ultimately, the New York Athletic Commission wasn't going to issue him a license to compete in the state. Whether it's precautionary, what we know is that there are some irregularities within his MRI or MRA, and so I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And I don't want to fight anybody that's hurt. I always want to fight the best version of that person. Like fighting Anderson Silva now is like I wanted to fight him in his prime. I fought Michael Bisping in his prime. I only want to fight the best guys that are at their best. So it was really just to make sure that Rashad was okay.
Well, let's get back to this time period. You tweeted out that the UFC have done a great job of handling a difficult situation. You tweeted out a few tweets aimed at Michael Bisping, aimed at a few other guys, Jacare, for example. Where are we at right now? And are you definitely off UFC 205? Or is there something going on in the background here? Because you just finished training.
Yeah, I just got done. It's Wednesday of fight week. I still have to make weight on Friday morning. There's 4 other middleweights fighting on UFC 205. Chris Weidman is prone to injury. Yoel Romero is prone to cheating. And then Natal and Tim Boetsch are both Northeast Americans that have local crowds coming to see them fight, and they want to be on the card. So they have me now as backup. They have the UFC has given up on trying to find a replacement. I pressed hard in every way I could. I was texting guys, I was tweeting guys, I was direct messaging them, anything I could.
Who did you text?
Let's see, Nick Diaz, Nick Diaz, Anderson, Jacare.
It's interesting that you have all these guys' numbers. Are you able to give us sort of insight of what those texts were like?
I mean, it's typical, like, especially Jacare. He's got big fights, or had a big fight that also fell through. He is here in New York right now, and so that was the fight that I was really hoping for, because I'd have already fought him previously, and I thought I won that fight. I thought I won decidedly, but I lost a split decision on the scorecards. So there's always those fights that you want back. And fighting Jacare here in New York would have been fun and surreal, also historic, and maybe even had more title implications, more so than Rashad.
I'm curious, what did he write back to you? You texted Jacare. Did he say anything? Was he keen on it? Is it just a situation where the UFC said no?
Yeah.
Or was he just not interested in it?
All those guys are gamers. You know, they'll fight. And it was the UFC. You know, Joe Silva has a plan. The guys have trajectories in their careers. Stylistically, you know, when he match makes, he wants guys to complement each other and how it would look on entertainment. Me interrupting those guys' trajectories it wasn't what they needed. And UFC 205 is such a strong fight card that me not being on it was, albeit my fans are disappointed, and like, you know, my phone's still going crazy of people freaking out and disappointed. And in the long run, the card won't be damaged too severely. You know, you still have Conor, you know, you still have Misha, you still have Eddie Alvarez, you know, you still have Frankie Edgar, you still have Chris Weidman, you still have, blah, blah, blah. You know, the card's just stacked top to bottom. So I'm disappointed, my fans are disappointed, but 205 will be just fine.
Well, it will be fine for a lot of people, but obviously for the Tim Kennedy fans, they're all disappointed. And what exactly does this mean for you? Because when we spoke recently, you said that after 205, this may be the last time we see you, just depending on what happens. And now the fight's not happening. So what happens with you? I mean, people are saying, hey, why don't you fight someone in Melbourne? Doesn't look like Jacare will, you know, that fight will happen, but maybe there's someone else. Would you be looking to continue fighting? Is there another fight that would potentially interest you? Or are you going back to the drawing board and we may not see you for a while?
I don't know. I only came back for something like this. And, you know, unless there is talk about me fighting for the title, you know, with a win, you know, a title eliminator, a contender, those type of fights, you know, being on another big major pay-per-view card, I don't know.
Is there a turnaround time that would work for you? If the UFC said, look, here's a good matchup for you can fight in a week or a month or any particular amount of time, is there one that would interest you by any chance?
Man, they could get me a fight in a month, you know, in the next 3-4 weeks on a big card. You know, we have UFC 206, another fight night in Melbourne. There's other middleweights on those fight cards. Derek Brunson, Whitaker, Jacare's free. Nick, that water's...
So right now, in the background, the water is ready, I think. We don't want there to be a mess in the hotel room.
Do you guys drink tea? Is that like an Australian thing, or you guys coffee?
We're pretty big tea guys.
We have our own sort of Aussie version of English breakfast. Would you be finding out about that? What are the chances that you think he'd be flying down to Melbourne to compete on that card? And you mentioned how Joe Silva's got sneaky plans for everyone. Are you a part of his plans at all right now, or are they just leaving Tim Kennedy off the drawing board completely?
No, they have. Joe Silva has plans for me, and he has sneaky plans. I think that in the very near future we'll get some indication about when I'm going to be fighting. You know, for me, the 5-meter target, I still have to make weight. I still need to cut another 15 pounds in 48 hours. Wow. You know, so like the 5-meter goal. You know, my target is to make weight on Friday morning, and then I'll look to what's next. I'll probably get some indication on Friday about what that might be, but my best guess is I'm fighting soon.
Appreciate the time, Tim. We'll let you go in just a moment. Just curious, that making weight, I mean, it's not a fun task. No fighters like it. How do you feel knowing that you have those 15 pounds and, I mean, people aren't really training all that much? It's really the end of fight week that there's a good chance you'll make the weight and there won't be another fight.
It sucks. You know, right now, you know, I'm probably in a 3,000 calorie deficit for the day. You know, drinking 2 gallons of water. You know, like this bathroom right here, right next to us, there's 4 gallons of Epsom salt that I'm going to be hopping in a bathtub in a little bit with rubbing alcohol and laying in there for like 20-30 minutes as I sweat out 7-8 pounds. That's brutal. You know, it's not fun, especially when you don't have that carrot, you know, that target, that near prize of the fight. I'm always going to get better. I'm always going to perfect what I'm doing, and this is just an opportunity for me to do that. What's kind of cool is that I'm still training as if I'm in fight camp. So my coaches are here, my training partners are here, and tonight, for instance, I'll do my second workout of the day, and it's going to be a hard, we're going to do 5-6 rounds of hard pad sessions. And then after that, I'll probably grapple for another 3-4 rounds of hard wrestling, hard grappling, as if I'm still in fight camp. The cool part is I'm not fighting on Saturday, so I can, you always have to like pull the reins during fight week, so you don't get too tired, so you don't get sore, so that I don't overtrain. If I'm not fighting, and it looks like I'm not on Saturday night, then I don't have to pull back on the reins. I can train hard tonight, so that'll be fun. Last
question, we'll let you go. A lot of people on the internet going crazy because Phil Baroni has been calling out Tim Kennedy for this fight. I mean, as fun as that would be, let's just settle it right now. Will Tim Kennedy versus Phil Baroni be happening at UFC 205?
I will absolutely fight Phil Baroni in Madison Square Garden at UFC 205.
So the hope is not dead.
I will fight him. He will fight me. The fight realistically is probably the furthest thing from a possibility.
Well, fans can dream. Tim, thank you so much for your time, and we'll keep our eye on what happens next. Maybe you'll end up in Melbourne, maybe in Canada, somewhere in the world, hopefully, but we hope to see you fight at least one more time. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.